And welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Football Now. Happy Thanksgiving to all.
Sorry about that.
Oh, all right. There we go. Cool. Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Football Now. It is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm here. You got me?
I got you, brother. We're good.
All right, man. All right. Happy Thanksgiving to you, buddy. I know it's tomorrow, but I did some cooking already, some shopping today. I got a bunch of my kids coming over. All they want is dessert. So they're going to eat at their mother's and come for dessert. You know what I make for dessert? A few years ago, my daughter and I really decided we like strawberry shortcake. And I don't know why I did it, but instead of using a shortcake that I bought at the store, we had biscuits in the refrigerator. So I made fresh, hot, fluffy biscuits and went biscuit, strawberries, whipped cream, biscuit, strawberries, whipped cream. We made it about two biscuits, 3 halves of biscuits high. And we just sat there and gorged ourselves until we were almost sick at our stomach. Yeah. So that's our thing. That's our father-daughter thing. And so now a couple of the other kids are coming. So I got 2 big tins of biscuits getting ready. The hard part was strawberries, right? It's not exactly strawberry season. So I'm picking through at Market Street, trying to find the darker looking strawberries. Even if they're overripe, I'll take them, right? You don't need the ones that are white or green. Otherwise, that's going to kill the moment. So anyway, happy Thanksgiving to you and to everybody else out there watching. Thanks for you guys joining in. Let's see. How do I get them in? Comments.
I got comments. I got you. There we go. I got us there now. So there we go. We'll see what pops up now.
All right, so here we go. Week number 12. Here is a reminder. I'm going to say it now, and you know it, but I'm going to tell everybody else. There are no bye weeks this week, games or teams. There are only 2 next week. But in week 14, there are either 6 or 7 teams that are off. So if you are in a situation like Tito and I are in with our leagues that we are nearest and dearest to our hearts, we cannot afford to shit the bed in week 14 because we got 2 of our best players off. We just can't. So pay attention to that. You might be able to swing a trade, but before Sunday this week, or certainly next week when there's only a couple of teams off. But if you're iffy, you cannot have a player or 2 key be off for you in week 14. So keep that in mind. Item number 1, Tito. Number 1 winners from last week. I wrote down. The 49ers look to me to be the best team in the NFC. I may be discounting too quickly the Eagles and what they have done, but the addition of McCaffrey, the health of George Kittle, Debo. I know their quarterback is just barely above average, but overall, almost everything they do on that team, defensively, coaching-wise, and everything else is pretty damn good and pretty damn built for playoff games. So winners for me, I look at the 49ers have won 3 straight, and I'm like, here they come. You can hear the train coming.
It's I don't think it's discounting the Eagles because I think the 49ers have the formula to beat the Eagles. I think that they've got the defense that can neutralize what Jalen Hurts does. And as great as the receivers are, yes, they are the best the borderline playoff team right now. I think they're still the 7th seed, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they moved up, but they're still down there. But anyway, yes, San Francisco, probably the most dangerous team right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Also, for winners, I wrote down the Ravens, and this is an interesting one for all of us. The Ravens have won 4 straight. Their defense is getting to where we always expect it to be, but their offense is shitty. And I think it's mostly based on the fact that they've had an inconsistent running back group, which they still do as far as I know. Kenyon Drake's had some decent games. He's not a bad player. Justice Hill, but they're missing some key guys, and that offense has been oddly dormant for me. And for fantasy players, I'm like, I don't know who I would tell you to put in. Kenyon Drake's been good some games and inconsistent others. The quarterback's, he's playing for a massive contract somewhere, and you would expect it to be in Baltimore. And he started off like a house of fire, but has let down a little bit as well. So the Ravens are winners, but I'm not sure we as fantasy players are because they're not doing much for us.
Injuries to Dobbins and Gus Edwards have certainly hurt that team. Dobbins was somebody when they drafted him out of Ohio State, expected big things, played really well before getting hurt year 2, and then also now injured again. Edwards inconsistent. You're right. There is no flow with that offense, with the skilled players outside of Lamar Jackson. Even Mark Andrews has missed time. So it's hard to really establish a rhythm with that team. Honestly, the only play that you consistently count on being out there is Lamar Jackson. He's listed as questionable this week, but I think he's going to play.
And Mark Andrews played last week and sort of looked like he was getting back to himself a little bit. Duvernay's been there kind of all year, but his numbers are just okay if you're desperate. The one that showed up last week is Demarcus Robinson, and I'm intimately familiar with him because I watched his act in Kansas City for 3 or 4 years. And while he is tall,
Right.
long-armed, long-legged, and extraordinarily athletic, he's a shitty route runner. He is always loose with the football when he gets it, and he finally wore his time out in Kansas City with the best quarterback in the league. So if Kansas City, if he couldn't make friends with Mahomes, I don't know why you think Demarcus Robinson is one that I would trust at all to even pick up or put in next week. You?
No, it's hard for Duvernay. Now, maybe week 14 I will when there's 6 teams on a bye like you talked about. By the way, that week I've got it called up here. Atlanta, Chicago, the Packers, the Colts, the Saints, and the Commanders are all off in that week 14 we're talking about.
Okay, so it doesn't sound extraordinarily damaging, but there's people out there who just heard that are like, damn, that's my running back and my number 2 wide receiver. So you got to fix it.
Sure. Yeah, it might be reflect, or if you had Cooper, now he's out for what looks like the year now because they said 6 weeks, so really probably not count on him anymore in the fantasy season. But Duvernay and Robinson are both very much lottery plays. You're going to hope that you hit them on the week that they're really good, but odds are they won't be really good.
Yep. Item number 2 for this show, Fantasy Football Now, losers. The Jets come to mind, and I'm happy with Robert Saleh and for him, the energy that he brings. He is a defensive-minded football coach, but Zach Wilson is sapping the life out of that team. That and the fact that they lost their best running back. Those 2 things have me thinking that 6-4 team is on its way to 7-11 or however many games they play, 7-10. Sky seems to be falling 3 points versus New England, and the coaching staff lets everybody down by punting that football with 18 seconds left to go and giving that a chance to happen. Seems inexplicable to me. And now I understand that it is not Flacco who is going to play this week in place of Zach Wilson.
Oh.
It is Mike White, who got 3 starts last year. He went 1-2. In the one game that he was good, he threw for 400 yards.
That's a big game
against Cincy. Yeah. So I don't know what to do about that. I can't imagine who are the Jets playing? It's the Bears, isn't it?
The Jets, Bears, which it could very well be a battle of the backup quarterbacks because Fields I think Fields will miss the game. We'll see about that.
That's what I'm saying. For
Bears
fantasy players, this could be a repeat though of last week. If Fields isn't playing and White is in, nobody might score.
Well, the Bears give up the most points in the league, I think, the last 4 weeks. So there is a little bit of a glimmer there if you're desperate. And look, White's going to check down more to the running back. So, you've got a little bit of potential there, with James Robinson potentially, to catch some passes out of the backfield. Look, it's another lottery ticket thing, though, where you better hope for hitting that game when it happens the right way because it's not guaranteed with that. It's hard trusting Mike White, but it might be harder trusting the Bears defense.
Yeah, I wonder. I've watched them a couple of times at different times during the season. I wonder if the Bears defense got caught up a little bit in the last 3 or 4 weeks in the whole Field show, right? Everything's opened up. There are more plays. Fields is running around like a wild man. All of a sudden, they're scoring points, and there's been a natural bit of a letdown because I didn't think the Bears defense is that bad. I can see them getting bowed up in this Jets game. I can just see this Jets game having a total of 20 or 22 points scored in the entire game. Be aware, fantasy players. Item number 3, surprises. The Steelers are getting better. They aren't necessarily winning very often, but for fantasy players, especially Pickens to Pickett or Pickett to Pickens, whichever the way it goes, is finally happening. Najee looks a little bit more engaged and a little bit fresher all of a sudden. Freiermuth, Deontay Johnson, all of a sudden the Steelers seem to me, whether they're going to win games or not, to sort of be fantasy relevant again.
Yeah, it's we get caught up, I think, across, and I'm not talking team fan, but if you're a fan of the NFL and you follow it, when Pittsburgh starts to turn things around, you automatically think, oh, they're dangerous now. They got to they're going to go on their run now in the second half, which is possible. But they play at Indy, on Monday night. That'll be a true going to look like that playing in the dome with the rookie quarterback. Najee Harris looked great the last couple of weeks. Offensive line's playing better. You've got TJ Watt back, which is huge. TJ Watt is as good for the offense almost as he is for the defense because he helps put the offense in better field position. So that's a thing that I think is probably when Watt came back, that's really when the offense amazingly started to look better.
The other surprise I had written down was another team, the Saints. The Red Rifle will throw it. Chris Olave is the best rookie receiver so far, but we'll see what happens with Williams coming back for Detroit. But Olave's relevant. Taysom Hill running it, throwing it, walking it, a little bit of everything. Wild card, we've mentioned that. Kamara's been a little bit down the last couple of weeks. The one I like is Juwan Johnson. If Juwan Johnson happens to be available in your league, he's actually been very, very good the last 3 weeks in a row. So just in case, tight end Juwan Johnson is a good-looking player.
And I haven't given the ball to Kamara that much they should be. They haven't given the ball that much at all. I've decided, by the way, that I'm going to come up with a Bill Belichick all-star game. Play can rate 1 week and crap the rest of the weeks and then surprise you with a great week, and that's Taysom Hill. He, my Bill Belichick all-stars trust, I'm guaranteed you have on the bench the minute it's a big week.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, Andy Dalton's that way a little bit too. I think he checks out of way too many runs because he really likes to throw the ball. And as he gets going, he gets a little horny to throw the ball. And if it goes well, then he can help you. But as you said, Kamara's not getting the touches he should have. And I think I see Andy looking at formations that he says, it's time to throw, Reminds me of my boy Romo. Number 4 are important for our friends, the ads. And I start out with Juwan Johnson, if you don't mind, the tight end in New Orleans, TD in 3 straight games. If he happens to be available, he's a really good pickup if he's available in your league. He can run. Juwan Johnson has really good legs, pretty darn good speed, and I've seen him have some big plays the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, he definitely is somebody you want to add because you obviously can't count on Michael Thomas at all in New Orleans. You obviously can't count on Jarvis Landry at all. And we just mentioned about Taysom Hill. So he's going to throw the ball to somebody. And it hasn't been as often as I thought it'd be to Kamara. So, I think Juwan Johnson's a decent ad. Look, if you're in the quarterback situation, looking at that, Taylor Heinicke is probably going to do better than guys like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers again this week. If you're somebody who was kind of in quarterback hell because you waited too long, was stabbed out this week again, by the way, looks like Kyler Murray's going to play for Arizona. But if you're in a situation where your quarterback is underperforming or has a tough matchup this week, Justin Fields, for instance, if he doesn't play, things like that, I think Heineke's a decent option.
It was occurring to me, see if you agree with this. This is sort of out of place, but as I looked at Arizona and the possibilities that head coach gets fired before the end of the season, I keep thinking Kyler Murray's going to get back in the lineup here pretty soon, and he's going to get interested. And when he does, it might be a really good time to have him starting this week, starting in the next couple of weeks. Sure. I just have a feeling. I really do. I have a feeling about Kyler Murray. If you could get him without giving up anything key and you're sort of on the periphery, that might be a move that I would make. I wrote Quez Watkins down, Philadelphia wide receiver. Doesn't get as many targets as you would have hoped. I know that quarterback does like him, but Quez has big plays. I went and looked, and he's got a 50-yard completion, a 33, a 23, a 26. So Quez can run, and he's fast. He's good at getting down the sidelines. If you're in need this week, Quez Watkins for a Philadelphia team that probably bounces back and plays a little bit better this week.
It might be too late, but if Josh Palmer is still out there, I would grab him for the Chargers. I know Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both in and out of the lineup. We're not sure when they're going to play. And when they do play, we're not sure how many plays they're going to play. In the last 3 weeks, Brady, Josh Palmer's been targeted 28 times by Justin Herbert. And it's only going to get better. He trusts him. He's going to keep throwing to him. The Chargers have to win. Their backs are against for a playoff berth. So that's a lot more of Josh Palmer.
Yeah, I watched that last week. They played Kansas City, and you're right. That's a good-looking, solid wide receiver. He comes from a good pedigree in college, and he's sort of the number one there, really, without anybody saying it. No one's going to say it out loud because they owe Keenan a lot of money, and Williams is a beast. But Williams came in, had one good play, landed on his back, and then took himself out for the rest of the game. So I watched that as well. Alec Pierce is a wide receiver that I really like. And early in the year, he had a couple of really big games. Matty Ice is back. Jeff Saturday in the park is sort of smoothing things out. It would not surprise me if Alec Pierce got cut for some kind of limited touches that he begins. Last week he had what do you have? I think I wrote he had 6 targets last week. They're going to roll with Matt Ryan the rest of this year, and Alec Pierce is a good player.
Pierce is, you've got Pittman there. You've also got Paris Campbell, who's played better under Matt Ryan. The offense as a whole, the passing game is better with Matt Ryan out there throwing the ball around, slinging it around. So I think it will continue. Look, Paris Campbell, I think, is a decent, sneaky play as well. Pierce, certainly. But Ryan's going to keep throwing that. And Ryan's got some value, too, as far as an ad if you're looking for a quarterback.
Buffalo always looking to make things better in their running game, and James Cook has been getting more and more play. Last week, 11 carries for 86 yards. He's got 4 runs of over 20 yards this season. James Cook, Buffalo, certainly worth a shot if you need him.
This will play Detroit on Thanksgiving, and I think that Cook will get more touches, or around the same amount. I'm saying he'll get probably 10 to 12 touches, I think, and because I expect the Bills to be ahead in this game. They're favored by 9.5, I think. I think the Bills should be able to put a lot of points up on Detroit's, let's say, below average defense. And so Cook will get in the game more for that reason. If it was a game against like a Kansas City type team or a game against San Francisco, I don't know if Cook would get 10 to 12, but at Detroit, I expect him to get that. And I love James Cook's upside.
I'm with you. I expect Cleveland to be behind pretty much every week. Jacoby Brissett has been serviceable for the most part this year.
Yes.
And now when you watch him, this happens once or twice a year that Amari Cooper gets hot and interested. He's really, really good. He's a really good route runner. I spent some time with him here, covering him here in Dallas for a couple of years, watching him play chess in the locker room. He's a very unusual, unique cat. But when Amari Cooper gets going, he gets going, and Brissett will get him the football. I don't hate them this week.
No, I don't hate them either this week. I think that playing against Tampa Bay, they'll probably be throwing the ball a lot, and they'll be behind. Right. I've noticed that Nick Chubb keeps getting more and more touches, but Kareem Hunt's numbers have gone down a little bit. But I do agree with you. Amari Cooper certainly is a decent option this week.
Chubb catching more of the passes that we're used to seeing Hunt catch. That's what's sort of standing out to me. There would be a lot of games where Chubb wouldn't get any catches or 1, and now he's always getting 4 or 5. Those are coming out of Kareem's end, and I'm not sure why, but they definitely are. Tight end Harrison Bryant, out of nowhere, had 7 targets last week for Cleveland as well. And Njoku played, but maybe isn't really quite over his health issue. I'm not sure, but that was a lot of targets that I noticed.
Njoku is listed as questionable for this week. And so if he doesn't have a market improvement before Sunday, I think Bryant's a decent if you're streaming tight ends, that's not a bad odd. You do a lot worse, I think, than Harrison Bryant if Njoku is still limited coming into Sunday.
Arizona wide receiver Greg Dortch was on TV the other night. I went and looked, and he's had 2 or 3 games this year where he got 9 targets. But then he's got other games where he gets 1, 2, 0, 1. So I don't know what to tell you about him, but they threw it to him 10 times. He caught 9 of them. And I can't remember who was doing their game, but whoever's doing their game said, I watched this guy, and he catches basically every ball they throw his way, was this color guy's observation. And I was like, okay, that's a fantasy observation, because in watching him last week, he was everywhere. He caught the balls that are shoe tops because he's quick as a cat. He went up for a couple of balls. So possibly Greg Dortch, possible in Arizona.
Yep. He's got a great catch radius. Zach Ertz now. The fact he's really out of the picture there. He's, like you said, the inconsistency, the 1 target or 1 catch, 2 catch, 9 catch, that part's hard to live with, but streaming tight ends, he's a great option to have.
Wide receiver Damiere Byrd in Atlanta. Now, this one I'm eye-dropping, okay, because Atlanta sometimes doesn't throw more than 10 or 11 passes in a game. So at your own peril. But Damiere Byrd, when I watch Atlanta, is a guy who that quarterback will throw the football to. He does have 2 touchdowns in the last 4 games. And to say he's a favorite of Mariota is dangerous. Listen to me. Mariota's favorite thing to do is run. And then he wants to run. And then he might hand it off to somebody else who will run. So I'm not recommending this. I'm just saying, if you're in a spot, Damiere Byrd seems to be an opportunistic man with few opportunities. There. I covered my ass.
Plus now Kyle Pitts being on. You did. Kyle Pitts being gone for the year also helps out his cause too, because if you like you said, if Mariota, if he completes 12 passes or throws 12 passes, if you do the math on it, who's going to catch him? If he completes 12 passes, Pitts has got 0, obviously. You know what I mean? So you've got only a certain number you can work with there, and that also helps Bird's cause.
In my team that matters so much, I traded for Kyle Pitts. I didn't give a lot, but I traded for him in like week 3. And my partner every week says,
right,
how much worse could Kyle Pitts be for us? And then I texted him the other day and said, he could be out, which he is now. So there we go. I don't know why he had to say it, but the minute he said it, it happened. Wide receiver Mac Hollins in Oakland, another one. When Mac Hollins gets passes thrown his way, it's a lot of passes. 7, 8, 9 targets. Oakland's always going to be behind. I think Carr is sort of like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to be behind. This seems to be the shitbag team that we have, but I have my best friend over here who's really good, who's getting double and triple coverage. The tight end's out. I'm going to throw it to everybody, and part of everybody is Mac Hollins.
Yeah, it's Hollins certainly is the one. Adams going to get his. He's going to throw the ball to Adams a lot anyway. We know that, but somebody else has to get touches after that. And yeah, it makes sense with that one.
We mentioned last week Logan Thomas has been a good tight end who hasn't been real healthy. He ended up getting 6 targets last week, 5 for 65 on catches. And as I look at that game this week, I'm like, man, Logan Thomas might catch 7 or 8 balls this week. That's just sort of how I feel. So if you need a tight end, again, the streaming tight ends thing, I'm kind of on Logan Thomas, Washington this week.
Do you think this thing is legit going forward? Now, this year's almost over now. Like next year, you're looking at tight ends. Next year, you are more likely, less likely to stream a tight end, or are you going to draft a tight end higher and keep him and not stream it alike? Do you have an idea of where you think the trend will go with that?
I think based on the talent, I keep thinking I eyeball at the beginning of every year 2 more Travis Kelce's. And we know that that's not true, but that is what everyone's looking for. Sure. Everyone's after 6'4", 250, can run like a deer and can stop on a dime. And you got bodies that roll out there. You're like, that's him, that's him, that's him. But we all know the truth. Right. None of them are him. And so, no, I think if I can't get Kelce, and the truth is, I know he's going to be 32 next year, I might draft Kelce late in the first round. I mean, it seems to be the highest floor in the world. You know it?
I think we're going to see more and more fantasy leagues go away from, because how much tight ends have morphed into a wide receiver position, like with Kelce, like with Andrews. As much as that's kind of morphed into that, I think we're going to see more leagues eliminate tight end position and just count 3 like wide receiver / tight ends.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
I think see more maybe this trend catches on is there's no tight end position. You're a pass catcher, you're a receiver. And that's where Kelce and Andrews those guys would fill in.
Yeah, Hawkinson, the same thing, no doubt. The other ad is Jameson Williams, the fantastic wide receiver from the University of Alabama. He is now going to be activated and potentially could play tomorrow. I'd be surprised because we have not, I've been following it because I have him in a couple of leagues. So I've been following it. So he's active, but I have a feeling this is at least a couple of week period for him to get any real play on this Detroit team. They're not winning that many games. They're going to be a lottery team. They probably need a quarterback. So rushing him back doesn't seem to make any sense. But as far as an ad, Jameson Williams, when he gets healthy, I still think, and Olave has been very good, is going to be the best rookie wide receiver out of this class, Detroit wide receiver.
So you grab with you. I don't think Detroit plays him this week because you've got the extended week. Then after this, you've got time to get ready for your next game. So I don't think they play him on the short week. I think they let him get acclimated and put it back in. But you're right. You should grab him and cut that 5th wide receiver. Cut the Van Jefferson guy I told you to pick up a couple weeks ago. Cut someone like that. Cut Allen Robinson. Cut somebody else and grab him and see if he has some value.
Item number 5 is just drop the asses. Zach Wilson is an easy one. He's not smart enough to have said, you know what, we need to be better. The defense was really good. It pissed his coach off so much that they're benching him. They keep saying he's still our guy. He has a unique set of skills, but at this point, his best skill is kind of being a dick and turning the ball over. So he's not going to play for a while. Baker Mayfield sucks all the time. And when he's in, he drags the team down. You know, my Deontay Foreman got dragged right into the mud because the defense was like, oh, there's Baker. All of you fuckers come up here and tackle Deontay Foreman because he can't do shit. He's really good at TV commercials.
Stack the box. The Zach Wilson thing, what's so funny about that too, Brady, is Zach Wilson comes out and criticizes the defense. Look, the defense gave up 3 points. The 7 that the Patriots scored was on that special teams punt. The defense gave up 3 friggin' points. If you can't beat a team when they held the 3 points, you keep your mouth shut.
Well, when you throw for 77 yards and it's 3-3 with 20 seconds left to go in the game, you have your share of blame. The ball's always in your hands. So it was easy and he fucked it up. The other drop is Melvin Gordon, who is and I haven't watched. I know Denver fans are tired of it. I know he's had more than his share of fumbles this year, but with everything that's going on there, it's almost as if the only person Denver has to blame is Melvin Gordon. And I don't quite get that. I think that they have done something here catastrophically wrong in the Russell Wilson contract, which they cannot do anything about. But Gordon is out, and I figured he'd be snapped up for Sunday, and he hasn't been yet.
Hasn't been yet. I think the teams, somebody may grab him to sign him as insurance policy. Darrell Henderson, who the Rams cut, kind of surprisingly, because he was a guy they loved for a while. But Henderson got picked by the Jaguars to back out there with running back from Jacksonville. Etienne. He's backing up Etienne now.
Yeah. It won't surprise me if the Chiefs grab Gordon, to be honest with you. Clyde Edwards may be out for the rest of this year. So that's a rookie. In Isaiah Pacheco, right? And he knows the teams. He knows, you know what I mean? It seems to me. And Andy has no leash. Andy will bring Gordon in and say, if you fumble like you've been fumbling there, you won't fucking play. But I also know I've watched you for years, and you're pretty damn dynamic.
You're a veteran guy. I can count on you, hopefully. If you don't fumble, you've got a role in this team. Do you want to answer a couple of questions because you brought up Pacheco? Sure. We got this question from R. Avila, who wants to know Pacheco, Garrett Wilson, Cortland Sutton, or DeAndre Swift, half-point PPR. He's got a half-point PPR. Pacheco, Wilson, Sutton, or Swift. I don't like Swift at all until they start giving him the ball more on. I'm not sure on Sutton. For me, it's between Garrett Wilson and Pacheco. I probably lean Pacheco right now. For Kansas City, a little bit over Wilson. It's close, but half-point PPR, I know that might give a little edge to Wilson, but I think I'd go with Pacheco.
Pacheco has not caught many passes, so that's the only thing that slows me down. I do think he can catch the football. We all in Kansas City want to compare him to a young Kareem Hunt, but we haven't seen the pass-catching side of it yet. But he has a disposition there that Andy likes, right? I mean, he turns and finds a hole and runs through it as hard as he can, like he just shifted into fifth, and you can grab on if you want to. And I know they like that.
One more question here. Pick 3 out of these, and there's no designations of PPR or anything, so I assume it's PPR because most leagues are now. Pick 3: Aaron Jones, Etienne, Walker, Pollard.
You know, my first thing for Mac is, how does first place feel? Because I love that running back core right there. I will tell you that, especially in the last, 4 or 5 weeks, Pollard and Walker have been absolutely on fire. I don't have all of the matchups in front of me. Who is Aaron got? I don't think I felt too good about the Packers this week. Who's Aaron Jones got? You're freezing on me, Tito. You still there?
Aaron Jones is at Philly.
Yeah, so this is tough for me.
Okay, now we're back. I'm sorry. Aaron Jones is at Philly. And look, Tony Pollard, his last 4 games has like 431 yards rushing and like 600 total yards, over 600 and 6 touchdowns. I love Pollard. I've got a Doug Martin type crush on Pollard. I had a huge crush on Doug Martin in Tampa Bay and also CJ Spiller in Buffalo. I've got that kind of love for Pollard right now. Pollard, Walker for sure. After that, it's probably Etienne. I don't think that Aaron Jones will get enough touches.
I agree. It's hard for me to believe I'm saying sit Aaron Jones, but amongst that plethora of good fortune and good drafting and good additions, way to go. I think it's Aaron Jones.
Yep.
We agree. Let's see.
Right.
Item number 6. These guys were just flat bad. Kirk Cousins was bad. It wasn't prime time, but it was the Cowboys and everybody was watching. And now he's got prime time this week on Thanksgiving. And damned if it isn't Belichick who will come in here and fuck Kirk Cousins up. He was bad. I'm not telling you to sit Kirk Cousins, but if you think Kirk Cousins is going to score him at about 15 points in your fantasy league, you're probably wrong.
I am going to go the opposite on this one, Brady. Okay. I'm going to tell you that, like everyone, at some point, Kirk Cousins is going to have a really good primetime game. I think this is the awful loss. Completely. I don't back game. I'm going to take. I think prime time. It's buck the trend. Prime time against Belichick. I think Cousins has a better game.
Oh, one thing I would say to do to help Cousins, and that Minnesota didn't in that Cowboy game, was run the ball more. They ran the ball effectively. Cowboys were a bad run defense, or at least had been for 2 or 3 weeks coming in, and Cook gets 8 carries or something like that, and he averages 5.5 yards a carry. You want to help Kirk Cousins, run the damn football. You got 2 really good running backs. That'll help him. Other guys that were just flat bad, just the Texans. You and I have talked about this. I thought Mills and Pierce and Cooks and Collins and, the sort of momentum they had coming out of training camp that Houston would help fantasy players more. And they've all been bad. And now Cooks is not helping, right? Because he's a whining bitch because he didn't get traded and whatever. And Pierce, all of a sudden, after being shot out of a cannon, everyone's just at the line of scrimmage. So they've been bad.
Pierce should bounce back this week, I think, but the offensive line has not been helping him out. And the fact that without Cooks there, it certainly makes teams easier to stack the box, like we talked about earlier, with the fact that that who was it? We said we couldn't pass the ball at all. It was with Deonta Foreman with the Carolina. You might see the same kind of treatment, but I think that Pierce has a decent game this week. Could be in the rookie wall, but I think he has a decent game.
Rams were just flat bad, and they are flat bad. I'm actually kind of surprised. I mean, the Super Bowl hangover does happen. They lost a couple of key players, no doubt, but I didn't expect them to be this bad. And now Bryce Perkins, I understand, is going to be the quarterback for the Rams, who got 10 throws, 5 completions, 64 yards last week. The Rams are not for anybody to watch or fantasy players to grab onto.
Anytime you Google the name of a quarterback when you hear his name starter for a week, that's a bind. It's bad for the Rams all around. They cut the running back they love. Their top receiver is out for the year. Is out for this week. It's not good. It's not a good situation for the Rams.
Now, item number 7 is the stardom list. This is what people want to know. I'll lead with one. They're going to go home. But Jared Goff playing Buffalo, again, doesn't sound great, but Buffalo's reeling a little bit. And the Lions are kind of on the opposite end of that. The Lions are playing better. They see a light, right? Their defense isn't horrendous. Their offense is getting healthier with Amon-Ra St. Brown and maybe Jameson Williams in the next couple of weeks. I think there's a palpable energy about what Detroit is doing, and kind of the Bills are fighting off just the opposite. So I'm not saying Goff's going to score 30 points. He's not. But it wouldn't surprise me if he got you 22, 23, 24 points. And if you needed it, you could live with it.
I think one of the guys I like is Jeff Wilson Jr. out in Miami. Him and Mostert out there kind of splitting carries, touches sometimes. But I think Wilson has a big week this week. I like him quite a bit.
Justin Jackson in Detroit, I think it just has to be said, runs the ball hard. He's averaging 5.3 yards a carry. I know it's Jameson Williams, and everybody wants it to be Swift who has them on their team, but it's not. Justin Jackson getting 10 touches, 5.2 yards a carry. Again, it's against Buffalo, so it might be a tough go, but they're going to run some running backs in and out of there if you had to. I'm enjoying watching Justin Jackson.
Yeah, Detroit running game has been fun to watch this year. Even inconsistent with not only his touch selection, Detroit runs the ball well. I also like, Latavius Murray is going to be the guy to get the carries in Denver. I know Denver's offense has not been very good this year, but they seem to do better when they control the ball. And Latavius Murray, a heavy dose of Murray coming up week.
I also wrote down both Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. And, this is my gambling side. I have a feeling about Jacksonville at home versus Baltimore, at least covering in this game. Baltimore's defense, we already mentioned, getting better, especially their run defense. But their pass defense still ranked right kind of in the middle. Their pass rush, not phenomenal. And it would not surprise me to see Kirk and or Zay Jones have productive games.
Zay Jones is sneaky. He came on strong into last year when he was with the Raiders before he came over to the Jaguars. He had a decent end to his season, and this is about time where you get the second half now, and Lawrence becomes more and more comfortable with those guys. And, when I think about Jacksonville, I think about next year having those guys back and, also being able to add Calvin Ridley to the mix, how good that offense could be next year. If you're in a dynasty league, maybe make a play for Trevor Lawrence. If you're a dynasty league, your season's kind of tanking, you've got a better quarterback, though, I would make a play for Trevor Lawrence somewhere. I think that Jags offense could really be something special next year.
Okay.
Christian Watson for Green Bay. He's been very opportunistic. Christian Watson has been 5 touchdown passes the last 2 games, sneaking up the Rookie of the Year odds in Vegas as far as winning that, the Offensive Rookie of the Year. He won't win it, but as Rodgers grows more confident with him, I think that Watson could have a really big impact the rest of the year.
It feels like he got over the yips in that game against the Cowboys, right? Because he starts that game with a drop of about 25, 27 yards. They miss a field goal, and I'm like, yep, that's what we've been seeing all year from the Packers. That's what this looks like. And right before our eyes, 3 touchdown catches, including one really unlikely arched back over the shoulder running into the end zone. And it's just like, boom. Mackie Saster can now throw the ball back to the pitcher. It's just fixed. Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Great reference. Could be Steve Sachs throwing to first also. Yes. Mackie Saster's a better pull.
Or Chuck Knobloch. No, but nobody has any idea about any of those because you and I are old as dirt. I like starting the Bears defense as well. You already said, hey, the Bears defense last 4 weeks has been terrible. But Mike White coming into play. Right. The Bears are all fired up. No Fields. I just got a feeling this game is 10-9. And if that's the case, the Bears defense will do something if you need them.
It is hard for me to trust a Bears defense that gave away their 2 best players at the trade deadline right behind that. So that's my only concern with that is I don't know if they have the talent to – that's our average offense. I'm not convinced the Bears have the talent to make that an opportunistic pick for them.
Okay. I'm with you on that. I wrote Pacheco down. We've already talked about him. I hate to say starts a young running back with minimal carries against the Rams, but I sort of kind of feel that way, that Andy gets to this part of the season and realizes that running is going to come into play more and more for his team, trying to salt games away, getting in cold weather games. We've seen him. Andy doesn't want to run, but he will. When he gets the right matchup, all of a sudden Andy will turn the running game loose for a while. I think he wants Pacheco to be really ready to be a stud when week 1 of the playoffs rolls around, or, well, they'll have a bye week probably. Oh, here, this is for you. This is for you. Whoop, whoop. There you go. I don't know where that came from. It just showed up in my house.
That was awesome.
Cardinals QB, whoever that may be, versus the Chargers. You said you think it's Kyler. So if it's Kyler, great. I actually already told everybody, hey, it might be time to make a low-end play at Kyler right now. There's something in me that says when Kyler gets interested, now that D-Hop is back, that something's going to click in Kyler. He's going to run the ball a little bit more, and he's a good fantasy player coming home.
He is, and they're desperate. So, and Kingsbury's coaching for his job, I have to believe. Yeah. So there's 2 ways to look at it. One, you can say, well, he'll be aggressive with his play calling, and so he's going to throw the ball a lot. Or you might say, Murray doesn't want to play for this guy anymore, so I'm not going to play. Maybe I don't put forth the entire effort because I want a new coach in here. There's talk that Sean Payton is interested in the Cardinals' job if it comes open and the Chargers' job if it comes open. How would that be for either Murray or Justin Herbert if they got those? If they got Sean Payton there?
No doubt, and that's they play each other this week. As I was eyeballing that, I'm like, the Chargers don't even hardly try and run right now. They throw in almost every down. So I like this ball in the air game with Cardinals and Chargers this week. Get some of that if you can. And then I wrote this down. You mentioned that people could drop him. I wrote down Allen Robinson. And the sole reason is how closely I am tied in watching the Chiefs. That's 3 rookies in the secondary back there. This is very Belichick, right? That they're going to round into shape by the time. And they're all 3 of them look like they can play. But that defensive coordinator is going to play straight up man, a lot of times 0 in the back. And you're going to get some open receivers one-on-one against the Chiefs. You just are. And Robinson's going to be the best wide receiver on the field. I just have a feeling Allen Robinson comes up with 8 for 80 and a touchdown this week against Kansas City in a losing cause.
I have a hard time trusting a Ram quarterback.
I know. I might be crazy. Sometimes I just start writing shit down and I just keep on going. Item number 8. Item number 8 is sit they asses. Andy Dalton I like him. I liked him when he was here. I liked him when he was at TCU. I like Andy Dalton. When he gets going, he can throw the damn football. But he does turn it over. He does turn it over under duress. That's a really good San Francisco team that Andy Dalton's team is getting ready to go across the country to see. I just don't think, unless you have to, I don't think you want Andy Dalton playing fantasy football quarterback for you at San Francisco this week.
I agree with you on that. Yes, I think that Dalton, although he got kind of a bad rap in Cincy, I think he was a really good quarterback for the Bengals.
Yeah.
I agree. He's not somebody I want to play this week. There's no way. No way.
Then I just wrote down for sit the asses, the entire Jets team and the entire Bears team. Just don't watch. Just leave yourself alone. Walk the dog. Do something nice for your wife. You don't do enough for your wife or your girlfriend as it is. When the Jets and the Bears are on your television, go do something for your wife. It's pay it forward. And it's also, I'm helping you because you don't want to watch this shit. The other one was Broncos at Panthers. I feel similar about that one.
I think if you're one of our ardent viewers and listeners who follow this, if you are someone who's got some kind of community service you're supposed to serve for the county you live in, if you have a chance, ask the judge, does this count as community service if I watch these games? Because that's what they should be. They are not. I know there's must-see TV. There's also not-see TV. This is not. I'm sorry. I got to be careful how I say this. Not see TV. Make sure I said that the right way. Not see TV.
Avert your eyes. Item number 9, injury updates. I need you to help me with this. You're ahead of me. I watched Keenan Allen play some plays, make kind of a big play, but also purposely, he was on the field probably not more than 20 plays, I would say. So I don't know where he's at. Then I watched Mike Williams go make one great play, fall down on the sidelines after a 25-yarder kind of on his back and his hip, and he was done. So I don't know about those two. And then is Dallas Goedert out for the year? Those are the 3 I want you to tell me about, and then you keep going.
Yeah, I believe Goddard's going to be out for the year now. It looks like it's not looking promising for him. If he comes back, I think it'll be after the fantasy season ends. Williams and Allen are going to be what Williams and Allen have been. Look, they are always questionable anymore. You can bank on them being questionable. The news would be if they are active. Like that's the news, because every week going in, it's like they're questionable, and they're going to be limited anyway. That's the way it's always going to be with these guys. Allen gets hurt every year for multiple weeks. Williams, like you said, you can't count on him out there. Looks like Josh Allen's back to being fine and normal after the elbow injury he had. He looks completely good to go now. I think that you know more about Zeke now, right? Because Zeke, is he going to try to play for sure on Thursday? Is he going to be out there full go, or do you think he'll be on a pitch count also?
No, well, I don't think he's on a pitch count. I think it's a combo, a little bit of a pitch count. But on the other hand, it's him acquiescing and saying, you know what, Pollard's too hot. So put me in on the right plays, put me in to pick up the blitz, put me in on short yardage, put me in the red zone, and let's roll this little rocket that is attached to number 20. So he's going to play, and he's got a chance to make your week okay if he scores a touchdown. But it's going to be a Pollard week again.
Lamar Jackson, all they say is dealing with an issue. I just got the latest news on this. John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh said, we had an issue in the game. He's going to play in the game, but I wanted to hold him back and let him rest today for practice. So he's listed as questionable, but it looks like he's going to play, which I totally expect. Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle, I don't expect him to be out there at all. Lamar Jackson feels terrible about that injury because I think he stepped on his foot or one or the other. Somehow they collided, and that's what caused Ronnie Stanley to get hurt. Stanley, missed like almost 2 full years. But that's something to keep an eye on as well with the Ravens offense.
And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out, I believe. He went on the inactive list, so it's a 4-week minimum for him, which pretty much puts him, IR. So those are the ones that I know about. Tips from the pros this week. I started with this, and I will remind you of this. This week, there are no bye weeks. Don't get fooled if you are new at the fantasy world or you haven't been in that long to think bye weeks are over. Next week, there are 2 teams, and week 14, there are 6. And most leagues that I'm in or that I'm looking at, there's a shit ton of 6 and 5, 5 and 6 teams. You don't have time to get caught off guard in week 14, which might be your final week or your next to last week before the playoffs, with 2 or 3 key guys out because you didn't realize week 14 was a monster bye week. So pay attention to that. If you need to trade around that, which we've been telling you for 5 weeks, it's time to start trading around your bye weeks. If your record is bad, you probably need to do it one more time.
You know what? And if you're doing really well, if you're one of those teams that's sitting on 8-3 right now and like you're locked into the playoffs, if you see a team like you mentioned, 5 and 6, fighting to get a spot, take advantage of that and go to them. Say, look, you need to win your next 2 games, and you've got guys that are coming up off for next 3 games. You've got a bunch of guys off week 14. I'll give you a B player, maybe a B and a C player for your A player that's off week 14 because you've got to win or your season's over. You've got to pounce on that. Go and look at all of those rosters. Find out who the people are that need help to get in the playoffs. And then if you're one who needs help to get in the playoffs, you got to go the other way with it and try to go out and stock your roster and maybe buy, I got to bite the bullet and do this and just try to sneak in.
And then for keeper leagues, my league that we're struggling in, but that I care a lot about, we keep 2 keepers every year. So you get to sort of this point where you're like, we probably ain't getting in. So I'll give up a little too much for a keeper, especially ours is basically whenever he was drafted. So I got Deontay Foreman was drafted in round 20. If you can get Deontay Foreman drafted late in drafts and you're out, Carolina will get better next year at passing the football. Deontay Foreman's really good, especially as a late round keeper. Those kinds of examples, if it's not this year, it's next year. And if you're in a keeper league, if you can get a couple of really good keepers that solidify what you do before the draft starts, then you give yourself a chance to not have another one of these years next year.
Absolutely. Keep an eye looking forward on that stuff and know your rules inside and out as far as how those keeper things work and what you can protect. If it's full keeper, full franchise, or multiple, or you just keep a number of keepers. Yes, look at that. Take advantage of that as well. And you can certainly right now, if you're in those kind of keeper leagues, you can absolutely start making decisions for 2020. That is key.
And now there are a few other things everyone needs to think about tomorrow. So if your team is one of the 3 teams playing, this is what I said in Off of the Helmets to my Cowboys fans. Listen, do not, if you're a Cowboys fan, or a Giants fan, do not roll out of bed tomorrow morning at 10:30 and have pancakes and eggs at 10:30 because you won't be ready to eat lunch and when dinner is served, when Thanksgiving is served during the first game. You don't care about the first game. So you need to be eating during the first game. So that means up by 8, doing something for the wife in the kitchen, taking the trash out, walking the dog, whatever. You don't care. But get up and eat at 8 so you're ready to eat at noon so that when the Cowboys and the Giants are on, and those are your teams, you're not worried about eating. You're having a little piece of pie. You're going to relax. You can get a tryptophan high during the evening game because I think the Patriots are playing, and that puts everybody to sleep. Minnesota. You have to plan your day. And if you don't plan your day tomorrow, you're going to get effed, right? You're going to have a request of, you know what? The family's going for a walk. Oh, are they? Oh, are they? All right. And then you're going to be like, I've been a heel for the last month and a half. I got to go on this fucking walk. And you have screwed this up. So get up early in the morning, do some honeydews, stir the pot, take out the trash, walk the damn dog, get all your stuff done, eat breakfast, and be ready to cash in, not do the noon game. You're eating, you're being a good guy so that you can watch the damn middle and the late game if you want to. If you don't plan your day, men, if you don't plan your day, you're going to get fucked. You just are. Don't screw this up.
You know what, Brady? You had tips from the pros in this part, but I'll give you a tip from an amateur because this is an amateur thing on today that I do. But whenever I've got 2 guys I'm deciding between in a draft, and it's like they're razor, and it might be like the 8th round, but it's decided between this guy or this guy. One of the plays Thanksgiving, because having fantasy, if I can get a quarterback or me, I the right way, so you're not stuck on doing a walk when the games are going on.
There you go. All right. And I got one more. Now, not everyone's tall. I was lucky to be tall. With tall came giant ears and plenty of other things that I had to give back on. But somewhere along the morning, especially if you've got a lot of people, you're going to recognize what the best pie is. Cherry, pumpkin. My stepmom made one year for me a pumpkin pecan pie. Literally pecan on top, pumpkin on the bottom. She told me she'd never do it again because it didn't all want to cook, right? There's two different embodiments of what's in a pumpkin and a pecan pie, and they didn't want to cook. But one of them cooked, and it was the best pie I ever had. So what you'll realize is you have a favorite pie, and everyone's had some, and they're sitting in the kitchen. And if you're tall, it is not hard at all to take the last 2 pieces of your favorite pie and stick them on top of the refrigerator. And then as the day goes along, your pie is still there. You don't even know how it got there, but it's on top of the refrigerator, and you're good, because who do you care about getting the right pie? This guy. 2 thumbs. This guy needs pie all day.
That's a great point. I never thought about that. Of course. How tall are you?
6. Well, I was 6'5", but my spine and my back and my knees are all like, so it's still 6'4".
6'4".
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great tip. That's also good to have. I'm not. Look, I am not above taking a piece of pie and putting it in our auxiliary fridge in the basement. I will absolutely do that. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah. But see, that one's obvious. If it's on top of the fridge, I don't even know how it got there, but I'm going to have some of this pie that's on top of the fridge. And all the people who are going to really bust you, are short. They don't see on top of the fridge.
They are. Yeah.
They just don't. They don't.
Right.
It's never land. That's all I got. Tito, I enjoyed it. Happy Thanksgiving to you, buddy.
Brother.
Enjoyed this. I hope we help some people out there. These next 2 or 3 weeks are crucial. We appreciate you watching. Hopefully the tips are great. Congratulations, by the way, to Mako J 37 for having to decide between Aaron Jones, Travis Etienne, Walker, and Pollard. Holy crap. Say hello to first place. All of you have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy each other. Be kind to each other. And we'll be back next Wednesday for you. For Jeff Tito Thidoff at Thid Happens, I'm Brady Tinker at DFW Sports Beat. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Bill. We'll talk to you next week.
Good. Happy Thanksgiving, pal.